When I do microphone reviews, it's usually understood where that microphone is going to be used. A condenser microphone is going to be used for generally singing. Dynamic microphone is usually going to be used for a broadcast, podcast, or maybe even a kick drum or something like that. Shotgun microphones used for on a boom pole or maybe even in a booth. Small diaphragm condenser microphones on a boom pole, possibly in a booth, and on an acoustic guitar as well. But this one here, I think that the application for it can be more than what people make it out to be. Welcome back to the Rebel Tech channel. I'm Justin, and in this video we're going to be covering the Lewitt 40 Match. Now, of course, this is a microphone that can be bought in a pair. I just have one. Now, for the specific reason, meaning that I got one at a good price and I didn't want to buy two. Maybe one day I'll pick up a second one and do some stereo pair type stuff. But until that day comes, my application for this microphone is actually for dialogue. I want to see if this microphone can be used for dialogue, which it's a small diaphragm condenser microphone, and they usually are used for interior dialogue and stuff like that. And from what I've seen on YouTube, is this microphone specifically, and the pair, just to be clear, have been used for acoustic guitar and overheads on drum sets. I haven't really seen many people use this microphone as an interior dialogue microphone. So that's what I'm going to do in this video and talk about the tech, the specs, all that stuff, the build, what we know Rebel Tech to be. But first up, let's talk about the build because it's easy to talk about. This thing ain't much. It's pretty small, and it's right out of frame right now because that's the point of this video. We're going to be doing a boom-like situation for interviews or something like that. Now, of course, I will change it up, but build. Let's talk about the build. Very small thing, not much to it. No switches, no nothing. XLR port on the back. Very sturdy build. Really nice. I can't say anything else about it because there's not much else to really say. If you have a pair of these, of course, you could do stereo setups in many ways, but like I said, I just have the one, so we're going to see how this thing performs. So next up, we're going to get into some Techy Talk. I'm going to leave up a graphic of all the tech, the specs, and everything that goes into it. And then finally in Techy Talk, we'll talk about the frequency response curve, which, if you know how I feel, the frequency response curve is the most important thing about a microphone because it shows how the microphone was tuned. God willing, a t-shirt will come out. I'm telling you, by the end of this year. Let's hope. So the first thing that really stands out is the max SPL, coming in at 134.6 decibels. Now, very specific, but 134, if give or take a decibel or two. Now to the major thing, sensitivity. Negative 34.5 decibels. Lewitt seems to like that half decibel range. Now, that may be because they like to be very specific. I think other companies might just round it up or down, whatever it is. But I definitely noticed with Lewitt, they'd like that half decibel specification. So now with the frequency response curve, let's start off with the low end. And the low end seems to be a natural low cutoff. It goes below 5 decibels, so right around like 6 or 7 decibels below at the low end, around 20 hertz. And I think it starts around 80 or so. And when you start moving past that low end into the low mids and into the mids, it starts to rise. That rise starts to level off right around 300 hertz and starting to get into that 0 decibel range. It stays pretty flat with a little bit of bumps here and there from about 300 to about 1,000, maybe a little bit more, maybe even like 1,500, which is nice and why I feel this microphone would be good for spoken word. Obviously, it's good for guitars and very detail-oriented instruments, but I really do feel that this microphone has potential. I can't say definitively, but it has potential to be a good interior dialogue microphone. Now, as we move into the mid highs and the high mids and the highs, it's around 1,500 starts to rise up and rise up to about 3K, maybe a little before, and then level off again. Then around 3.5K, it starts to rise up pretty drastically to a plateau right past 5K, 5.5K. Now, these are where your presence boosts are going to be. And that airy kind of section is next. So this is where your detail is. That 3 to like 8K, you got a lot of detail there where a lot of people's voices get some detail that can be emphasized. And as you can see in this chart, it's emphasized for about 5 decibels, so that's a decent boost. At about 5.5K, it gets a little bit of a dip, not too crazy, but it dips, and dips around 6.5K. At 6.5K, it starts to rise up past that 5 decibel range, and you're starting to get more into that airy kind of higher end, and where some people's voices tend to be. Me, personally, I probably don't have a voice that's that high or in that range, but if you have a voice that's in that higher range, this will affect you as well. Or if you're working a job where a person has that registry in their voice, that will be applied to that section as well. So as far as the frequency response curve is concerned, I really like it. And this is why, the main reason why I think that I could apply it to interior dialogue is because it's flexible in that midsection and it's not too aggressive and potentially, now on a chart, not so muddy. When you listen to it, and let me know down in the comments if you feel like it's muddy on my voice. If you want any other examples with this microphone, obviously, with any microphone that I cover, let me know, and I'll try my best to get someone to help me out and give a vocal performance rather than my own. So next up, let's do a noise test and an off-axis rejection test. I'm going to first do a noise test as it is right now. Then I will do an off-axis test as it is right now, and do an off-axis test with it oriented like a little closer to my mouth, so it's kind of just close proximity. It might not be used that way, but just an example for you. Alright, so there wasn't much going on, maybe a little bit of talking upstairs, but not much going on. So I got lucky, but I can't guarantee that's going to be for everyone's situation. So keep that in mind. So throughout this video, I've been about, let's say, that's about 6, 7, maybe like 10 inches away from the microphone, give or take, because it's right out of frame. Like, it's literally, I'm touching it right there. And you can see the tip of my finger, so it's right there. So now let's back up just a little bit, not too crazy. And this is my mildly treated studio here, not too crazy, but I have some sound blankets and moving blankets. And now I'm about a foot and a half away from from where I'm speaking into it. And I don't know if you'll really use this much further than this. I will do a little bit more of a distance when we get into the untreated room and where I think this thing will shine. At least comparatively speaking to a shotgun microphone. That's really when it comes down to. But the one thing that I'm really excited for is the AT something, that shotgun microphone I picked up from Audio-Technica. I'm excited to hear the comparison between this one and that one. Also the Octava as well. That's a big one as well. But all those are in the future, so keep an eye out for those. Alright, so now 90-degree test. This side, over here. And this is what it's going to sound like in my studio here in 90 degrees. It's a cardioid polar pattern, so it should have some rejection. I'm about 2 feet away from the side of the microphone, and this is what it's going to sound like. Now on the other side, about the same distance, about 2 feet away, this is what it's going to sound like right over here. And yeah, so this is going to be the 90-degree test on the other side. Now we're going to do 180. Okay, 180-degree test. Roughly about 2 feet away from the rear of the microphone. Not exactly 180 because it's kind of cocked a little bit, but it's roughly 180, maybe like 175 or so. So it's going to be an 180-degree test where you probably will have your major rejection. All right, so let's go into the booth and see how this thing is in a more controlled environment. It's not a perfect booth, but it's what I got. So it's a the best controlled area I can muster up for you guys. All right, so in the booth right now with the Lewitt LCT 40 match. So this is what it's going to sound like in a somewhat controlled environment. There is the dryer going on in the other room. I do apologize for that, but that's what happens when you live with other people, and that's just the way it is. I don't think it's going to pick it up that much when I'm talking, so keep that in mind as well. The other thing I'm going to say is this booth is bigger than past booths and past booth tests, which is why I'm going to be redoing some videos. I've been wanting to redo some of the videos in the past, like the Sennheiser video, the 416, the 4040, the Octava. I want to do a part 3. There's a bunch of videos that I want to readdress these microphones. I want to bring them back, and mostly because I think I've learned a lot more with those microphones, and I've used them a lot more in different environments. And also I want to introduce more environments, like using a small diaphragm condenser in a car or whatever it is. I want to do a series of car videos of how to mic up a car or whatever it is. So just ideas. I'm going to be doing some lab videos as well, because I use labs when I work. So something to consider checking out in the future, and something to consider subscribing for. And so this microphone is an interesting one, because it's not known for being a interior dialogue or even voiceover microphone, but man, I used it on the Zoom making marks in the Zoom F6 video, and I was like, it sounds all right. It sounds pretty good. It's not perfect. It has its limitations, but I definitely heard potential. So I messed around with the EQ for a little bit, and it took a little extra work. It took a bunch of pass-bys with a bunch of different versions of it, and I had like 3 presets set. So if you're interested in this microphone EQ'd, obviously you could ask me down in the comments, and maybe I'll add it to the list of the EQ videos. And also, if you want it right now, the Zoom Marks video is EQ'd. Now, back to what it sounds like in the booth. So, I didn't use this as a voiceover microphone. I didn't use this as a up-in-your-face kind of microphone. I used it as a boom microphone. So right now, it's not being used in a sense that most people would use it as a voiceover microphone. This microphone's under $100, and I kind of like it. It has its limitations, sure, I understand that, but it has a lot of air to it. There's a lot of presence there in that high end, and it definitely, for me at least, I love it on my voice. I actually am very surprised. There's a lot of detail, and makes sense for a small diaphragm condenser. I will say that the sibilance in this is definitely a little annoying. So taking the windscreen off, let's do a test with that, and see if you notice a difference with the tone. And if we Sally sells seashells by the seashore. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. It's not that bad. It's actually, let's put this back on. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. So yeah, it depends. It depends on how harsh that sibilance is in your voice. And obviously, I'm not a professional voice actor, so I haven't practiced taking away some sibilance. And of course, there are limitations to how much sibilance you can take away, because mouths and being human, all that stuff. That comes up a lot in my videos about being human. Very philosophical of me, I know. So now to add one more step to my test of this, we're going to do a tap test, because I didn't have it on a stand that I was close enough to. It'd look a little silly if I was doing it that way. So we're going to tap the stand and just to see how the rejection of noise is. And that is with the stock shock mount, the stock mount that came with it. I was using a shock mount on the other thing, but it wasn't touched, so it really didn't notice the difference. You wouldn't have noticed if I didn't tell you. So the other thing I want to do in the booth is I'm going to set it up as if it was a ADR situation. Obviously, if you use this microphone in a situation where it was on a boom, you try to simulate that as best you can. Now, of course, ADR can be done in many ways. You can do it like this as a regular voice, or if you were using the boom in a movie or a short or whatever, you're trying to simulate the environment that you were in. And if your microphone's set up like this, but when it was used and you were using the, like take for example, you're using a Sennheiser MK416 in a movie on a boom, and that's your main source of audio rather than a lav or whatever it is, and you want an ADR. If you have it up in your face like this, it's not going to get the same performance. It's not going to sound the same. So you try to simulate it by booming it above and getting a performance like that for ADR's sake, because it's not going to be consistent. Of course, it's not going to be consistent anyway because you're doing one in the scene and one in the booth or whatever it is, but you try to simulate it as close as you can so the work on the back end is a little easier. Keep that in mind. So the beginning of this was on a boom, outside a frame, and this is right up in my face, which I will throw it on the boom again and show an example of like that. But before we do that, let's do a off-axis rejection close. Okay, so 90-degree test right here. I'm about like 6-7 inches away. And this is what it's going to be like in the booth right now, off-axis. And I know that this is from the other side, 90 degrees. This is a cardioid polar pattern. And of course, I know that this is not the same environment, but I'll do it in the Untreated Room as well and then try to make people happy, but I know some people won't be happy. And finally, 180 degrees. This is what it's going to sound like behind the microphone in close proximity. So that was roughly about like 6 to 12 inches away, roughly. And now I'm going to throw it on the boom with a shock mount, and we're going to do more of a ADR quote-unquote situation. All right, so we are using the microphone in a boom-like situation, something you would have on a mic stand as an interview type situation, or even simulating someone having it on their boom pole. And I think I'm going to do that in a separate video. I'm not going to do it in this one because the video is going to be way too long. I think I'm going to do a video of comparing all my microphones that would be put on a boom pole and handling noise and stuff like that. That's a good topic to talk about, and something that I am very close to because that's what I do professionally, or quote-unquote professionally. Technically, I get paid for those gigs, so I'm a professional. Let's increase the gain a little bit. And this is what it's going to sound like with about a foot away, and I'm trying to get it as close as I can. Let's zoom out a little bit. So you can see there's the microphone there, maybe about a foot away or so. And I don't really like it like this. Like, I could try to orient it a little bit better like that. And I don't know, I just feel like there's a lot of air there. There's like too much. So if I get a little bit closer, I am really cut off for the world. More so than a normal. So I'm even closer now. I'm less than a foot away. And obviously I'm really close in the camera. Very devious and stupid. That was one of the words I was looking for. It's devious and stupid. Adjectives that I don't think were ever used in the same sentence before. Okay, so we got it back in this situation where I'm like 3-4 inches away. And I actually really like this. It's a little airy. It might need a little bit of, like if I back up a little bit, it might need some help on the back end. Like, I really like how it sounds here. But the problem I have with it is it's a little muddy and it needs a little bit of help. But I like the proximity effect on it. It's really nice. What I want to do here is a plosive test, because why not? We're here. So we're going to do this backwards. We're going to do this as it is and then go to Bear Grylls. You know, that guy. He shows up every once in a while. Oh, the provided one. Not terrible. Actually, this microphone is very well built, considering how small it is, and I guess there's not much material, so you're able to make it a little bit better built. I don't know. Lewitt does make a nice built microphone. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah. So there you go. There's your plosive test. And overall thoughts? Surprised. Very surprised. I did not expect this thing to be like, I understand. It has that, like, that high end, that high mids section is a little overwhelming. Needs to be scooped out. A little bit of a valley there in that mid section, that 500 or so. 500 to about 1,000. And then maybe a little more emphasis on the low end, a little more airiness there. Kind of just that V shape or the U shape, roughly. But if you're interested in the EQ on this thing and messing around with it, let me know down in the comments, and maybe one day I'll throw it on the stream and we'll play around with it. Or I could do a video on it. Depends on how many people want to hear about it. I don't even know if anybody's interested in this microphone as a voiceover microphone or as a boom microphone, but we're going to find out because I'm going to compare this thing to a bunch of them. I'm done rambling. Let's go to the Untreated Room and see how this thing fares in the Untreated Room. Okay, so we have the Lewitt LCT 040 match in the Untreated Room right now, and obviously I have it set up as a voiceover setup. And I'm going to do a boom setup as well, and we'll do off-axis stuff and all things like that. I just wanted to get a lay of the land right now so you get an example, an idea of what the example is portraying. And I covered this in the Mic Shield video. I think this is the Mic Shield video is out, just covering a 3-panel newer Mic Shield that costs like $30-$40 or whatever it is. See if it makes a difference, but I don't know. But this is just a microphone in the room. This is my bedroom, my untreated room. Flat wall over there. This has a lot of shelves on it, so not very reflective. Behind me might not make a difference because obviously it's behind me. And flat ceiling and about 6 feet that way. So it's about a, 6 foot by 10 feet room or so, give or take. I'm not breaking out a ruler for this. Now about 2 feet away, maybe a little less, about 2 feet away, I'll say. And this is what it's going to sound like in the Untreated Room. Alright, 90-degree test on the LCT 40 match. It's a very weird name, match. Because when I was looking it up, I thought the match meant because it matched the pair, but if there was no pair, there's no match. But when you look up the pair of them, it says match pair, so I don't know, it's very strange. Lastly, 180-degree test, flat wall, you can see flat wall off to the left. Well, yeah, your left. Yeah, same, we both have the same lefts. Right side shelves, ceiling, wood floor, bed right here. So this is going to be your example of 180 degrees in a voiceover situation. Now we're going to throw it on the boom. Alright, so this is going to be the situation that I'm interested in hearing. This is the one situation where I was going with this video, and obviously I could go in many different interior dialogue type situations, but I'm planning on doing a car video and a follow-up outdoor video, so I'm going to save this microphone for those comparisons and just give you guys the simple Untreated Room stuff, and then if you want anything further, those videos will cover that as well. Or if you're interested in something quick, I could throw out a short or something like that. So this is about like, about 1.5 feet away from the microphone compared to the very close that I was before. It's just out of frame right here, so you could probably see like half, maybe a quarter of my finger is out of frame. Yeah, the first knuckle. So it's right there. It's the closest it can be. I could change the focal length and make it closer, but if it's a situation like this is what it's going to sound like in a room like this. And that is the Lewitt LCT 040 match. Condenser microphone, small diaphragm condenser microphone, and I do feel that this could be a voiceover microphone. I'm very surprised, and I'm little intrigued to see how this thing does in my future tests, future comparisons. And I do think that it has limitations, but it has potential as well. It does need help on the back end with some EQ, maybe some compression, depending on the situation. Just a little bit of extra oomph on the back end. But for an $89 or $90 microphone, maybe it's $100, I can't remember. It's around $100. This microphone is very surprising, and in the specific situation, it could be very valuable. And of course, like I said, more tests will definitely help me funnel this thing into a specific category and specific situation where it would shine the most. That all being said, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you liked the video, please hit the like button down below. It'd be greatly appreciated. Helps this video, helps this channel, and really does get out to more people. It really does mean a lot. And if you have any comments, questions, or anything like that, we could talk about the LCT 040 match and see where it applies in your content or in any content overall. I didn't get a chance to do the acoustic guitar test because I feel that I just want to have a separate video so people could just want to watch a video for acoustic guitar stuff with a microphone. I have a bunch of videos planned. Basically, every microphone that I own, I want to put on an acoustic guitar. And I'm not a great guitarist. I know how to strum a few chords. I know the basics. I could be a rhythm guitarist if I wanted to, but other than that, I'm not much of a guitarist. So maybe one day I'll have a friend of mine pick up a guitar again, and they're much better than me. But I got to get in contact with some people that I used to hang out with bands and recording and stuff like that to actually do that. But until that day comes, it will be me playing guitar, and I'll do my best. Last thing, if you like my vibe around here, please consider subscribing. We're well on our way to 2,000 subscribers. I said in one video before, the shield. In this shield video, at 2,000 subscribers, I'm going to do a 24-hour stream. And I am putting myself to it because I'd never done it before, and I'm going to regret it. I know I'm going to regret it afterwards, but it'll be a cool thing to say I did. And I have attempted a 12-hour stream, but I don't think I made it. I think I made it to like 10 hours. So we'll see what happens with the 24-hour. I'm hoping to do it before my birthday at the end of October. So subscribe, and we'll get there sooner rather than later. Maybe before the end of the summer, who knows? And that's all I got for you. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you rebels in the next video.